The old man had cheated death more times than anyone could remember, but on that fading autumn evening, as the sun poured its last gold through the cabin window, even he knew he had reached the final mile of his long, brutal road. His breath was shallow, his rugged chest rising unevenly beneath a worn leather vest that still carried the patches of the Hells Angels chapter he once led with unstoppable fire. The nurses had whispered that he wouldn't last the night, but the old biker, tough, tattooed and stubborn, held on with a strength that defied his failing body. Because he had one last wish before the ride finally ended. He wanted to see his family again. He hadn't spoken to them in years, not after the fights, the mistakes, the pride. Yet somehow, against all odds, he still believed they might come. If you believe in kindness, forgiveness, and second chances, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us tell more stories that matter. For decades, Leonard Ironhand Mason had lived by the roar of engines and the code of the road. He wasn't a cruel man, but he was hardened, shaped by battles, brotherhood, and choices that carved long shadows over his life. When his wife passed away in a tragic accident he always blamed himself for, the distance between him and his two sons and young daughter widened until it snapped entirely. Pride replaced apology, silence replaced effort, and the family he once held so tightly disappeared from his world. Years passed. The club was the only family he had left. Then age caught up to him, fast and merciless. Illness struck like lightning, and as his body weakened, memories came back with a force he couldn't handle. He realized he'd give anything, to see his children again, not to ask for forgiveness, but simply to look at them once more, to know they were okay, to touch the life he abandoned. His biker brothers made the calls. Most went straight to voicemail. Others were answered and quickly ended. The sons, now grown men with families and responsibilities, weren't sure they even wanted to see him. His daughter, barely 6 when he left, now a mother herself, didn't know if she could face the man who disappeared without explanation. Yet something about hearing he might be dying shook them all. Memories surfaced, the way he used to lift them onto his bike for photos, the nights he played music by the fire, the protective strength of his arms. The good parts they'd buried long ago suddenly mattered again. Still, none of them confirmed they were coming. The old biker waited quietly in his wooden cabin, a place filled with the scent of smoke and leather. A fire crackled softly in the stone fireplace. His tattooed hands rested on the blanket, trembling faintly. His breathing grew slower. Time was slipping, but a strange calm settled in his eyes as if he knew something was coming, something he had no right to expect, but desperately prayed for anyway. Then, just as the nurse was about to adjust his pillow, the sound of tires crunching on gravel echoed outside. At first he thought he was imagining it. Then he heard footsteps, several of them. The door creaked open. And there, backlit by the orange watercolor sky, stood his children. The sons he hadn't spoken to in years. The daughter, who barely remembered him yet, carried a quiet, unspoken longing. And beside them, grandchildren he had never met, peeking curiously at the old man in the bed. The moment felt like time itself paused. Leonard's eyes widened with disbelief. His hands twitched, trying to lift themselves. His sons approached first, each carrying the weight of decades on their shoulders. Their faces held conflict, hurt, hesitation, confusion. But there was something else too, the unmistakable pull of family. His daughter came next, eyes shining with tears, her child clinging to her arm. The old biker's breath trembled. He whispered their names silently, as if afraid the sound might make the vision disappear. What happened next was something no one expected. A warm strength surged through him, not youthful but powerful, hopeful. The man who had been fading just minutes earlier suddenly lifted his torso, reaching out in a way that astonished even the nurse. His grandchildren stepped forward with innocent bravery, their small hands finding his huge weathered fingers, and the moment their palms connected with his, something changed in the room. The fire felt brighter. The air felt lighter. The pain in his chest eased, as if their presence had rewound some unseen clock inside him. His sons leaned in closer, placing their hands over their children's, creating a chain of warmth, regret, forgiveness, and love that spread like wildfire. The daughter he barely knew touched his cheek gently, tears spilling freely. The old man's eyes, once sharp and steel-hard, softened into something no one in the room had ever seen before, pure, unguarded emotion. He wasn't cured, his illness remained. But the miracle wasn't about surviving. It was something far more powerful. The family he had pushed away had come back. Not because he asked perfectly, not because he deserved it, but because love, in the end, is stronger than time, stronger than anger, stronger than the mistakes that threatened to break us. Hours passed with the family gathered around him. They talked softly, sharing memories, filling the years with stories that stitched the broken pieces together. The old biker listened, smiled, even laughed, a low, gravelly sound that brought warmth to every heart in the room. And when exhaustion finally settled over him, he didn't fight it. He lay back against the pillow, surrounded by everything he thought he had lost forever. Just before the final stretch of night came, Leonard looked at each of them with a peace no one had ever seen in his eyes before. He had been a warrior, a rebel, a protector, a flawed man with a heavy past. But in that moment, he was simply a father again. A grandfather. A man who finally found his way home. And as the soft glow of the fire danced across the cabin walls, he closed his eyes, not in fear, but in absolute gratitude. His last wish had come true. And the miracle wasn't that he lived longer, it was that he didn't die alone. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe for more emotional journeys. Your support keeps these stories alive. Before you go, tell us in the comments, what part of the story moved you the most?